Welcome back. And this is part of our What's Up Doc segment. We're going to start with the elementary school students from Dunedin. And because of the topic being stress this time, it kind of relates to what we talked about earlier and what the stress that people are feeling just because of the shootings. But the kids have some wonderful questions for you.
I'm excited to hear them.
Nevaeh, do you have a question for Dr. Savel?
My stomach always hurts before I take my math test. Is this normal?
Nevaeh, thank you so much for being here and participating in what I consider one of my favorite things to do. You know, we all have that phenomenon. I have it, your teacher has it, your parents have it, your classmates do. You know, when we get anxious about something, and certainly people do get nervous about tests, different chemicals come out in the body, in the brain, and in the heart that make you a little excited. And those things can change the way the blood is flowing in your intestines and your stomach. And it can send out signals to the body to make you feel nervous. And so it's normal for your stomach to hurt and to kind of move around. You might even feel little gurglings and bubbles, especially if you've just eaten something or if you're very hungry, as a normal part of the way your body works. And each human being feels the very same thing. So I don't want you to worry about that. It's just, to me, a sign that you care. It's okay to be a little bit nervous about a test, because if you weren't, it would tell me that you didn't prepare or that it didn't mean a lot to you. And after all, isn't it a wonderful thing when you care enough about taking that test and doing well that you get a little bit of nervousness about it? Because I believe that makes you perform better and get a better grade and a better result. Awesome question. Thank you so much for asking it.
Aidan, do you have a question for Dr. Savel?
Does watching too much TV cause stress?
Aidan, thank you for being here. It's another great question. Let's talk about this in a couple of different ways. It's easy to say that if you were watching some kind of a crime TV show or a mystery, or the kind of a show that made you anxious, that could cause anxiety and stress. Looking at somebody dying or somebody fell off of a cliff or something. So I believe that's the case. But when you say watching TV, I think of video games as well, especially at your age. And if you're playing some kind of a violent video game, that could be stressful. But how about even if you're playing some kind of a car racing game that has nothing to do with violence at all and might be appropriate for your age group? Maybe you're worried about playing your little sister and she's better at you than you are at that game. How embarrassing. And I say that with a smile. The point is that if you're worried about winning that race, that can give you anxiety as well. So we can have normal anxiousness from what we watch on television, be it live news or some recorded programming, sometimes meant for older people, and certainly by playing video games. But I want to answer this question for you in another way as well. One of the greatest stress relievers is exercise. Unplugging from your electronic devices, especially your TV, and going outside safely with perhaps your parents with you and getting exercise. And sometimes we can get exercise in our own homes with sit-ups or jumping jacks. So what I'd say to you is if you feel a little bit of anxiety when you're watching TV, maybe it's time to unplug entirely and get some exercise so your body feels better. It gives you a good appetite for dinner. You remain even healthier, and that helps cut down your anxiety. So that's a wonderful question, but I want you to think very carefully about the answers I gave you.
Wendy, do you have a question for Dr. Savel?
How can I help my friend who is being bullied feel better about herself?
Wendy, I'm glad you were brave enough to ask that question, and I appreciate you playing a part in this wonderful activity we have. First of all, I want you to tell me, of course, that your friend is safe, because bullying becomes not just psychological, but physical. So because you were brave enough to talk to me today, I hope you'll also be brave enough to talk to your teacher or some administrator at the school, even if your friend doesn't feel safe to do so, to make sure that the person who's doing some bullying doesn't necessarily get in trouble, but is found out, so that can stop. Because we can't tolerate any bullying in our schools. But the question you asked is a little bit different. You asked me what to do about your friend. We're all good people. I believe we're all the same, and I know you do as well. You know, it's easy to be a friend when the going is great, when you're talking to your friend about going to the fair or what you ate for dinner last night or a TV show you saw. But it's more difficult to be a good friend when your companion is sad because he or she is having some trouble at home or with school, or in this case, because somebody is bothering them. I want you to make sure you talk to them all the time. Maybe send them a message at night or talk to them on the phone in the evening, because oftentimes people get depressed and sad if they're being picked on, and you don't want to let that happen. So besides being the kind of person who will tell on that bully to save somebody from all that aggravation, be the kind of person who's right there in your friend's life, because you may never know when you need somebody to help you. But I want you to do me a favor as well. I'm a firm believer that people don't grow up thinking that bullying someone else is a great idea. So I want you to imagine what goes on in the home of that child who is being mean to your friend. Maybe somebody's being mean to that kid. Maybe it's mom or dad, maybe it's an older brother, maybe it's somebody else in school. So think about this for a moment. I want you to be brave enough to tell on that bully, because you could really save that bully's life. You could really make a difference in his or her life. Because when the bully gets in trouble, we may look into the family life and find out that something's going on at that household that needs to be discovered. So you're helping your friend and you're helping the bully. You can really do a lot of good things by not just talking about something, but by acting. Don't get involved yourself personally and bully somebody else or get into some physical confrontation. That's never the way to handle anything. Speak to the teacher or an administrator, and life will be better for everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to ask this question, because I know there's a lot of people watching this today who are having something like this going on in their lives.
Great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And especially when we're talking about the bully possibly also being bullied. I think that's
Absolutely.
critical that they understand and have some empathy for the child, even though they're doing mean things to them. What is it? Why are they bullied?
It's a hard thing, you know, and honestly, you know, I was the kid who sat on his eyeglasses on day 2 of the year. My dad would buy them. I had electrical tape, and let's be honest, my appearance is not my best feature. So I was bullied a lot when I was that age, so I speak about it almost with tears in my eyes sometimes, because I remember what it was like to be picked on as a kid and not knowing what to do about that as a short little funny looking kid.
Absolutely.
And so I really feel for those kids. But as a pediatrician, I feel for the bullies as well, because there's a reason somebody's being mean. I'd like to believe that we are all put on this earth to be good to each other, and that when we end up not being good, it's a sign that something else is going on. We can help a lot of people by looking into that.
Absolutely. And we've seen that in students because they haven't been accepted by others. I'm going to reject them first.
Yeah.
So it's so true.
Absolutely.
Well, when we come back, we're going to take some questions from middle school students.
That's wonderful. Thank you.